Namaste.
Namaste.
Hi. We're very spontaneous here. This is Darren. And Darren had a really amazing experiences in his darkness retreat. He just came here and we just spontaneous felt, okay, we share some of that with you. And so you are from England?
Yeah, London, England, in the city mainly. I was born in the city, and I moved out of London in the country for about 5 years, and then came back to the city when I had a family. So I got two children under 2, and a wife at home. So so pretty much a Londoner, city mainly.
Wow! And now to come here in the nature is very different experience.
Very different. I was saying earlier to Bharati that my feet haven't been on grass for the length of time that I spent out there for a number of years.
Wow.
And that alone says a lot about, sometimes the conditioning of being in a jungle, concrete jungle in the UK, can really spoil your connection.
And also the energy.
Of course, The energy out here is amazing. I'm going to go out and do a walk in the Black Forest. So I'm really excited about that. And spend as much, soak up as much, energy as possible. Go home and then think about how I can get back out here as soon as possible. Really.
So nice.
10 nights in the darkness.
Right.
Incredible experience. Really, I recommend it to every person. It is truly incredible experience. It's an internal experience, and that's what I had. So I'm so pleased that I came out here, spent the 10 days. But one thing I have to let people know for sure is that it's not just the experience inside the darkness, it's the family environment outside. That is incredible. I mean, you feel completely safe, and sometimes if you go into a place like the darkness, which is an intimate experience, feeling safe, knowing that is so important. It's very really important, and you feel safe. You don't worry about eating. You don't worry about the facilities are all available to you. But then the people that are there, even though you probably never meet them, or maybe you do after the darkness, but during the course of the days you don't meet them, and you speak to them, and the energy that you can feel from them, and the interactions is amazing.
I'm also very, very thankful. That's a big grace of God that finally we got a very good team together.
Yes.
Because that is also, it was not easy in the beginning, because you need very reliable people, and also even Sandy in the kitchen, a big heart, you can feel it.
And Sandy's really important. I never met Sandy until my second day out of into the light. Okay. And she's really important because there's times when you have something that you want to remain connected with what you've had out of darkness. So chocolate is my thing. And I asked Sabina for chocolate. And she went and got me 2 packs. And I was thinking, it's vegan chocolate, and I haven't tasted vegan chocolate before, but I took 1 bar of the vegan chocolate. I now need to know where did you...
So I have to show you that also.
You definitely need to show me that. And the hazelnut and the plain one. I want the hazelnut and the plain.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Actually, that is a family who does raw vegan food by handmade chocolate. Unfortunately, I'm my best customer.
Okay.
So I always have to order. But it's very, very different. And I believe in very healthy, good food. I think that the quality of food and the nutrients also have a lot to do with your experience in the retreat, because you need a lot of good vibes and a lot of good energies also.
And it's so funny you say that. In London, you have to go to the real remote places to get good chocolate. So sometimes you binge on not good chocolate, and when you have not good chocolate, what it does to you. So sugar, you dip, and you get chocolate on your tongue, and the residue stays with you. This chocolate, I had a bar, and I was like, oh, where is this? So when I came out the light, the first thing I did the first thing I did was go straight to the chocolate packet, look on the back to see what the ingredients are. Vitamin K and vitamin E in chocolate.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I didn't know that. So.
Also in my astral projection groups, or even, when we see like you had almost a very strong out-of-body experiences, you started to get very, maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But when I feel that in people, I give them special smoothies even. Because if you put a lot of banana and a lot of raw chocolate, there's a lot of ingredients which helps in lucid dreaming, and you need vitamins for that. And I think that a lot of people, even they meditate a lot. A lot of people don't get experiences because we talked just about the fluoride in the water, the fluoride in the toothpaste because it goes on the pineal gland, and the ingredients in food, which is not food, it's poison stuff. So I'm very happy to get that.
And do you know what? Because I was talking earlier about my daughter getting eczema.
Oh yes.
And we can talk about that as well.
Oh, maybe we should, because actually we had a different plan, but we should maybe talk about that.
In the UK, we have what is called a treatment of vaccinations when the child is born. So from 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. I don't know the complete sort of schedule for it, but my daughter. Was breastfeeding, completely breastfed, so no other diet or anything, and that she was consuming.
Completely healthy.
Completely
I saw
healthy,
the pictures
before.
Beautiful energy,
face, clean skin,
very nice, very beautiful.
So
clear eyes, everything.
We had the second dose shot of
it was
vaccination.
an 8 times vaccination.
So like 6 in 1 or something like that. And within a couple of weeks, her face had completely changed. Completely changed. Eczema. I don't know.
Maybe you don't want to put it
maybe,
but it looked really bad.
And to the point where my wife, who'd just had obviously given birth, suffering postnatal blues, so she struggled with my daughter's face being completely blood,
very big, and also here, and of course it's painful. And here in Germany they want to put, everywhere in the world they want to put regulations. I know. I'm really praying people wake up, because there are many people I feel are so brainwashed because this industry is so big. They can put on so many money. They can put silence on each person. Even in anti-vaccinations groups where I sometimes post, there are people who get paid to have fake profiles on Facebook. They spam. They have on everything an argument. It's very scary, because you can be lucky. On my knowledge, it's just that. It's very bad. But I know personally a baby who died after vaccination.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so, and I'm really concerned, and I think, that we didn't want to do a video about that, but this is our heart and our soul, and that's our children, and this is very important. That happens everywhere in the world, that people really believing, and if you're lucky, you have big reaction, but I think in your case you can be happy that it comes out of the skin, because it means it detoxes. The body is getting rid of it. But many children have different eyes. All of a sudden, the eyes are changing, or they even get strokes, or have learning disabilities. Or now we have so many cases of autism. Really my heart is breaking seeing that. And Rudolf Steiner, for example, he said if you vaccinate the kids, you try to get the soul's death, so they cannot get a huge consciousness. And if you see what is the ingredients in that, it's the same like fluoride and stuff does with the child. And it makes you really, let's say, that you don't have an IQ very high anymore. That your IQ lowers, you have learning disabilities, and even in grown-ups, they don't know why, but they're very forgetful. Alzheimer is getting more and more worse. Now we have even young people with Alzheimer's. So that's the dark side of the Kali Yuga we are in. Kali Yuga is the time age we are in. So it's scriptures in the Vedas talk about that. They're warning about that already 3,000 years ago. They talk that will happen. But most people really sleeping. So that's why we're sharing that. It's not we really feel that in our heart, because whoever has kids, they want to do the best for the kids. And I mean, now you went through a lot to detox you cannot eat normally
she's
anymore.
Got allergies,
a lot of allergies.
Milk, nuts, all of those sorts of things that I don't have. None of my family have those sorts of things. But the thing was with the chocolate per se is that it's a chocolate that I can give to her and be feeling confident that I'm giving her something that's good, because I don't like giving sugar to children.
Yes.
Sugar is not designed for children.
Right.
So, and that chocolate is something that she can enjoy. Right. It's got vitamins in it and all sorts.
Yes.
So.
And actually there are ways to detox. I mean, I can give you later some information also. Please remember me, because there's a lot of things on my plate. I will write to you. I will write to you some information how you can detox that. Luckily, because your kid is very small, that luckily she can live without allergies. It's possible to regain that. But so
after
that's about vaccinations.
But after that thought, asking for chocolate, I asked then, maybe potato chips.
Yes.
And so I buzzed in and I asked if it was possible to have some potato chips. Yes. And Sandy went into the kitchen and she spent 2 days preparing sweet potato.
Yeah, sweet potato raw on a raw food dryer on Excalibur.
Let it dry for a couple of days and then served it, and that was amazing as well. So and that's what I mean. So the environment is so important, and the environment was just perfect for me. So welcoming, so comfortable. Obviously I get to have conversations with you as well, and you can choose how many conversations you want as well. I think for me, I spent a little bit in silence, so that I can survey what's going on inside of me, but then to express it with you afterwards. And if you have the experience here, you learn her energy is high. It's so high, and the laughing, because you can hear her in different rooms consulting, and it's incredible. And it warms you as well to hear it. The singing is incredible. All of these different elements add to the experience. You sometimes, you open the window and you can hear the birds outside, and the cockerel as well, the crows, and the insects, and it's like letting nature in with you. Yes. And that's such a beautiful thing to do at times as well. So, and I grew up really scared of the dark. I mean, so should I give the story? So maybe now we talked about the healthy, why I do the raw food together, the vegan, why it's important. So now we can, and the vaccination. I just want to say, after a certain point of consciousness, I think you cannot separate spirituality anymore of also your health, because it comes together, because we are actually connected to nature. Yes. And I think we human beings, it's very important, very crucial that we understand that, we are not born into being in complexes and just eating processed foods and institutions. Now we have to realize who we really are. And then also, if you eat healthy food, if you do some meditation, you're getting higher in your vibrations, you're getting fast experience. And that was very, very beautiful. You had strong experiences in your darkness retreat. Really strong. I wanted to add to what you just said, because it's really important. So I come from a strategy and development background in my workplace at home. So we build properties, affordable homes for people, local people. And one of the things that you just said about connection to nature is that I build properties with concrete, and that takes nature away. So to say, it's no surprise that when you're disconnected from nature, that in your own mind, how you build is also a disconnection from nature. So we need to think about how to incorporate nature in the living environment for people. So I live in a concrete jungle in London. You very rarely see green. You're very rarely connected to the forest. So that's really important. It's really important that we all need to think about how that connects really. So the the experience itself. And if I start with the story, so my background also was I grew up in a probably quite a strong religious family, but my grandfather he's a different type of man.
Okay.
So for children, I was a child, and he used to play horror movies to me as a child.
Yeah. I just make it like this because your head is sometimes gone.
Yeah. He used to play horror movies for me as a child.
Okay.
So as a child, my brother and I used to be scared of these movies, but afterwards we'd play a cartoon at the end of the movie to, make sure we don't have a nightmare at the end. Okay. So going into the darkness for me, it took me back instantly to the childhood experiences, and I asked the universe to give to me, be gentle, to be gentle with me. So the first 3 days in the darkness, I don't know if you want to explain how the pineal gland. Yeah. So the pineal gland is in a process of activation, right?
Because of the melatonin. So if you go, that one of the ways to open the third eye. Actually, I was at the lucid dreaming fair where some different speakers talked about lucid dreaming and astral projection, and there was one guy, he sold melatonin spray, and he also sold eye mask, and I was like, okay, because anyhow, you without spray and mask, you can also just go in the darkness. Actually, after 3 to 5 days, it depends. How many days and how long you need is for each person different. That's why healthy living and healthy food is so important to even get that experience, because otherwise you don't even get experiences. That's why I work with so many different tools also, sometimes with Pandora or different things, to open it really up. And in your case, luckily, it just didn't took long.
It didn't take long.
That is a very, very good sign. So, and you... then you can get a huge experience. You can start to see things. You can start to get a view. You can start to have out of body experience. Absolutely. Different things can happen naturally without even forcing it, without even doing anything.
And that is the key thing.
That's the key. Naturally is the key.
Is the key. And so a couple of days, I think I was just sort of adjusting to the darkness myself.
Right.
And then on the third day at night, I was getting these images, and it's when we talk about darkness, we don't talk about little bit of light. Maybe there's different gradients. We're talking about true darkness.
Yes, it's full dark. So even the showers, toilet,
everything you can't see.
You cannot see anything.
Not
so
at all.
we prepared that.
And it really works. So, but the images are crystal clear images.
Yes.
You can put a TV screen in your
forehead
and project it out. Colours, I would say I've seen. Yes. But the quality, I don't know if I've seen before in these experiences. Wow. So, and funny enough, it was almost like a review of my consciousness over time. Right. And what I mean by that is it was showing me all the things I've experienced. Violent movies, Netflix. I may cancel my subscription.
We talked about not on Netflix. That because you had images in between.
From my dreaming, so I had vivid dreaming straight away. I had vivid dreaming, and I'm used to vivid dreaming, but not at this level.
Yes. So it was very clear,
crystal clear. And as an observer, I'm looking at these images, and it's violence. It's violence. And I watched the movie John Wick. So if you've seen the John Wick movie, yes, you don't need to worry. You don't watch John Wick. Okay. sorry, Keanu. But I watched John Wick, and every third scene or second scene is shooting of other beings, human beings. Okay, so in my visual consciousness of this almost download or discharge, I call it a detox. I was having a detox. It was saying to me, this is what you are experiencing in your day-to-day life and have experienced over your lifetime. So complete violence. I mean,
and that goes in the subconsciousness. We don't know. The same with vaccinations or different levels of heavy metals and stuff. So for some people it doesn't show up immediately, but it's there, and it's like a poison. It's like an energy poison.
It is a poison,
and I'm sure it's like changing our consciousness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for it to repeat to me for 3 days, I had violence in my, and I wasn't affected by it because I think to some extent now, the desensitization. You watch movies and you see violence of this nature. So you're used to seeing it every day. But
put an external
that's alright. So I wasn't so much affected by it, except that it was constant. And if you have a night of 4 hours sleeping and you're seeing, this sort of repeat acts of violence, you start to think, wow, that is my consciousness.
That is the consciousness. And then when you walk through the world like this, and if you think, the movie's a secret, or what's a blip do we know, what we have in our subconscious creates a reality. So, and not just for us, but also for our environment. Because, there are proofs if people meditate that their energy field is changing even around the city where they're living. So, wow, I mean, it's like a mass hypnosis. If everybody watches this. And you told me something really scary. I was like, oh my gosh, you told me that people walking with their phones in London.
So in London, in London every
and then
day.
They're looking at stuff.
They all watch Netflix. So I travel through St Pancras, which is one of the main, King's Cross, St Pancras, which is main stations. And millions of people travel through that. I don't know whether it's a week or what have you, but they all have their mobile phones out, bump into each other maybe, they're not aware of their surroundings, and you can sit down in the middle of a train station in St Pancras and see that happening every day. People just on their phones, dodging each other, not looking where they're going or anything like that. And that's
like a zombie.
No, it is. but we were zombies before the mobile phone as well. You have to think we were zombies before the mobile phones. It's just mobile phones have now
clicking it.
It's showing in a completely different way. But in the cleverness of this stream of consciousness that I was experiencing, at the end of each one, the characters in those movies became cartoons.
That is so interesting. Okay, but you are trained a little bit in lucid dreaming? So you had some experience before in
I've had some
dreaming?
experience in lucid dreamers,
Then you can work with that and you can change your images.
So maybe universe was listening and saying yes, be
and
gentle.
switching your energy and just making you aware of. And you said you have a subscription or something. You will cancel that now. I mean, I can absolutely recommend Gaia TV. That's a TV like Netflix for spiritual. So anyhow, that is what I sometimes look.
Okay. And that's so important
to feed our consciousness with good things, and also just don't believe everything everybody says in the news or everything. Start to think yourself. This is very, very important, because only then we can start to wake up. Because many people even think that lucid dreamings, okay, maybe they're real, but astral projections are not real. They cannot be.
Really?
Or many people think that, and many people say also after death everything is finished. Many people are just completely like many people don't get it. What a soul is, who we really are, what kind of power we have, what kind of energy we have, and why we have to protect this human race also, because I feel the energy poison and the energy poison plus the poison from food and other things is changing our consciousness for sure. And so that is very important. And there's so many energy experiences possible. I mean, you almost had a out of body, and then you called me 2 times in, and then at the end you had one. You had an out of body experience. And wow, I mean, that's amazing, but just so short time in the darkness. But your energy was very strong.
It was strong by then, I think. And because after a few days, obviously I had the experiences, the 3 days of this sort of violent episode. The cartoons that sort of made it a bit more gentle. And then that shifted as well. So it went from that to nature. And nature in an incredible way. I've never seen nature. I've never been exposed to nature in that way. Yes, I might have seen a couple of David Attenborough documentaries about nature, but some of the things I saw in nature in this experience, I don't think would have been possible without me having maybe other lifetime experiences to have seen this and to be connected to nature itself, and to be connected.
Do you
to
like
the
to share 2-3 images or experience? A little bit.
I don't even know if the words will give the true.
I know there's problems. I know there's problems.
I don't even know. but if I say the undergrowth in nature itself, and I'm talking about in a deep sort of Amazon forest, forest like this, where you've got insects with incredible detail. Incredible.
Yes,
and I mean,
and you see it like
like a zoom. And you can choose to zoom in. If you want to say zoom into here, you just intuit it, and it does it. I was like, what's that? And it would.
Wow. And that's the thing in astral projections. See, in a dream, for example, for you guys, in a dream, you don't have such a clear images, and you always have something strange. It's always you dreaming. But in the astral, you are so clear. I always know when I'm in the astral, it's such a different experience, even to be in this human body. I mean, this is amazing. It's like wow. And I also have that with the radar. Sometimes everything is so, and I feel so alive.
And that's exactly That's exactly so. To switch from that to nature and to show me nature in that detail tells me that I'm not connected enough with nature, and it's reminding me to be connected.
To be connected more.
To be connected. But the detail of insects I've never seen in my life before.
Wow. I mean, they're beautiful.
Beautiful, stunning, really stunning insects. Really, and insects, you never get to see it because some of it is microscopic. It's so tiny that where would you, where do you find them? So it's and so it was a detail and the colours.
The colours are very bright.
If you
you were 100% in the astral, I can say.
So I had that, and then I think then so at night time that was the development. So from 3 days, there was 3 days, 2 days to 5 days, maybe the violence, and then from 5 days onwards to nature. But then in between that, so when I'm consciously awake, you've got structures, forms that are always appearing in your sort of
and that is very interesting because in India we call it yantras. So a yantra is a geometrical figure, like for example a circle with a triangle, and then or with a dot with a triangle, and that are always souls. And there are even books about it, and over the years I spent in India I learned about that. What is the meaning of a triangle? For example, that's always a sign of Mother Divine. What is the meaning of a dot? That means another bindu, that means connection to the 0 point, to the oneness. What is connected to a circle, to a triangle, for example. Up is of the energy of a Shiva, down is the energy of a female energy. So, and when you start to see that images, you can, if you learn that, you can on the next step you can interpret it, you can say which soul is there, and you have a personal yantra, I have a personal yantra, and the thing is, I know that, and I meditated a lot in India, a lot, and we had to do a lot of practice, like visualizing a deity in our third eye, like Durga, and then hoping that after some years of meditation, that the yantra of Durga appears. A super difficult practice, and when I started my darkness retreats here, I didn't tell people what a yantra is, and they all of a sudden they have that experiences where I had to sit. So that's why the darkness is so powerful, because it has nothing to do with religion or something. No. It has nothing to do with that. Next step, if you come back to do another darkness retreat, then if you see that, you ask them, who are you? They can even turn and show their real form, or even talk to you, or or shifting in front of your eyes. It's amazing. It's amazing. So that is real divine knowledge, you know, because real experiences there are coming in front of our open eyes in the later stages. And then it flashes the mind and you're like, what? And I had people who told me, no, that cannot be real, that is a brain making it up, it's a darkness, blah, blah, blah. Then I had 2 people seeing the same thing. 3 people seeing the same thing. 4 people in a group seeing the same thing. So nobody can mix that up. And so you can start, you know, to create a group consciousness even. That's happening sometimes in my group retreats. That not with everybody, but sometimes if the group is right and the energy is high enough, those experiences can happen with 2, 3 or even more of them. There are sometimes for days. And in that energy and entities talk to them and come to them. Sometimes I cannot see them. Sometimes I'm like, okay, what's going on? They tell me like, I say, okay. And sometimes I see, but they don't see. But that is really, really, this after so less days, it's a beautiful blessing. That also means the energy is flowing around you. And the fear you just expressed, that you have a fear that that energy goes away, I don't think you have to have that, because at that level what you have to do is you have to close your eyes and think on that experiences, and then you pull that back into your third eye, you pull that back into your soul, so that energy stays. So that is important. So that we always remember that, because Maya, the illusion as we call it, can sometimes do that we forget who we are, or forget the power of our vibration. So it's always important to, like Netflix, you look at the series. In your head you have a new positive Netflix review, so that energy stays with you. And this is also how you call divine beings, how you call them to help you.
And it's an important point you raised about group consciousness, because it helps to accelerate your growth and your divine connection as well. And that's it's so important. I've literally only just recently, and I did tell you about it, started to put a group together. It doesn't have to be a big group. No, really small
group you start,
you know, people like-minded. You don't have to be completely like-minded, because once the conscious conversations start happening, it grows and expands.
No, that's perfect. That's very perfect. I have to think on what Jesus said, like even if 1 or 2 people sit in my name, you know. And that is very, very, very powerful. And as I want to say, everybody can reach that level. It's nothing, but if one person is starting, for everybody else it gets more faster. And that's it. And actually, I lived here long years in India, and I think, you know, even to sit with people who had experience, if they don't have an ego, there are a lot of fake gurus, a lot of ego gurus also, I want to say, so be careful with many of those guys. But sometimes you'll be able to find a genius person who had strong divine experience, and if you sit with them, even you don't do anything, you just breathe the air they breathe, and you get
presence,
you know. I had an experience when I went teaching in Australia. I had teaching many years ago in Australia, and at that time my Kundalini started to open, and I started to see aura around people, energy fields, and I stayed with a beautiful couple. So if you see that here, Miroslav and Miroslava, they're very beautiful, and they have the same name, Miroslav and Miroslava. Now they're married, they have a little beautiful daughter. I hope I meet them soon.
Miroslava again?
Miroslav and Miroslava. No, I don't know, different name. And anyhow, they all of a sudden, they started to also see aura. And you know, Miroslava said, that is so weird, because, you know, since you're here, I start to see energy fields. And I think that is what's happening in groups, and that is what, but also on the other hand, if you're together with people who completely down, they don't believe anything, they pull you down, you also have to be very aware. If you're too much around those guys, you also go down with your energy. So it's always important to lift your soul.
And we were talking about that, because you know, certain friends I used to be really connected to, I don't have anymore. And that's just because, you know, we go into different paths at times, but that doesn't mean that separation is as important as the joining, because separation
Please come a little bit up, always with your head a little bit.
Separation can bring people back together again, because the consciousness still works in separation, which is really good. And you were talking about gurus, fake gurus, and what have you. And that's really important, because when you have a small group, consciousness can stay contained, it can be allowed to grow naturally, organically. But when it grows too big, sometimes the ego comes into play,
very
and
dangerous.
Then it's dangerous.
I know some people who have a lot of experience in power and divine energies, and I also see some people who are a little bit on the edge on that, where I think, be careful, but okay. But sometimes I have to go through that experience as well, but that creates a lot of bad karma. And you know, there are people who are really misusing that, I have to say. There's a page called Guru Filak. So they expose the fake gurus, and actually it's very heartbreaking if you see how many. And I feel personally everybody has the ability to achieve certain spiritual goals.
Absolutely.
And at that moment when a person says only I can do that, that's the first level where I always feel like, that's the first thing. I mean, there are many different signs, it's not the only one, but you know, that is one of the signs. And in the darkness, for example, you don't have a guru. You know, I also only come in, I have no concept. I'm not a guru of anybody there. I just see what's happening, where I can support. I never know what's coming up, you know. I don't have any plan. God has a plan. And then, you know, that what can happen can happen. I'm happy to lead and support, but that is very, very important. You know, we have to be very protective with our heart, with our soul, with our body. We're living in very interesting times. The old scriptures, they talk about the Kali Yuga. 80% are poisoned in many different levels. So once we have that awareness, we can protect ourselves. And of course, if we feel there are ways going separate, it doesn't mean we don't love them. We can still love them, and we can still be them. And sometimes the people come even back. You know, because they're realizing something, and it's okay. You know, we have to love so much that we even can let them leave.
Especially if you retain that authenticity as well, and you retain your who you are. That's really, really important. And it will. And it, you know, if you love someone, you let them go.
Yes,
you know?
Sometimes you have to let them go.
And if
that is love sometimes.
Really. Obviously in between, so you've got this sort of the visual aspect, the dreaming, the vivid dreaming. You get during the day the structures starting to present itself, and then you get the sort of the unconscious and the conscious thoughts that happen almost in parallel. So I spent, you know, the last 9 days, I'm going to finish my 10th today, diarising all of my experiences, so that I could try to, memory is so important, isn't it? But I wanted to see if I could capture it. That treats the essence as pure as it could be. But also, you know, you get the space between sort of thought, where you get true divine knowledge or intelligence. And that came through as well in a big way. So I had big questions that I wanted to ask and have answered. And the best way, if you want a question answered, you don't need to go anywhere else. Just you ask within. And it will come. It truly does come. So I managed to capture a lot of those as well. So
I want to say one thing which touched me a lot in your experience was one day your wife wrote an email. It was very sweet. They always wrote emails. It was very nice. And one thing she wrote about the ego, and then I didn't told you about that at that day. She wrote one day before, and I came in that room for a talk, and you said, I have such a hard time. I have such a battle with my ego. And I was like, wow, how you connected with your wife, because she is writing something I didn't told you, and you're working on it. And I mean, you're working so honest on it. And what I always see, if somebody is really honestly working, the divine is listening, and then many times the side divine experiences come. If you always try to, no, I'm good, I'm perfect, I'm already worked through everything, you know, I don't need that, I already done that, you know, that is already ego. But if you know, that day you felt shitty. I know, you felt very shitty. You went through some stuff. And then after that you released it, and wow, you came back. And that is also, you know, we always try to heal everything away. We always try, you know, if you go to a healer, as many times like, how to raise your vibration. I personally think sometimes we have to stay with the shit to turn it into compost. Absolutely. You know, you have to turn it into compost. You cannot take it away, and then if you put it on your tomatoes, the tomatoes grow beautifully. You know, you have to create compost of your shit.
No, that is the perfect analogy. And it's important because, and you know, I see the ego as simple, but quite complex, and it depends on the individual, because you can reconstruct our own egos over time, and we do it to protect ourselves, to not be in pain, not being vulnerable, what have you. And I saw there were some moments to get love, all of those things. So I saw some of the elements that I created that I created post me sort of letting the ego go. So you get a sort of growth stage where you understand the ego and its complexities, you let it go, but then you create other elements, and you don't realise those new subtle elements that could look positive, perceived to be positive, but actually it's a construct as well. And it's important, but it helped me to look at those things.
But you were able to look at them, and that takes a self-honesty. I want to share one short thing. When you were in this process, actually many times there's a metamorphic field, and all of a sudden that starts to happen in the whole darkness retreat. Something connected to that. And your neighbor, all of a sudden at that day, I came in and she had the light on. She opened the window and I said, what did you do? She said, I feel I'm ready. Okay, I knew it's an ego, because she went one day before also to some shitty thing, but she wanted to escape, to feel. But then I was so impressed. We worked through that because it was really deep. What she had a trauma with, very, very deep, and I'm very, very amazed how much strength she pulled in her heart to work through that. I sent her in the forest to make a walk, and I said, you leave it open, you just think if it could be a possibility is your ego to escape that. And next morning, and then I said, okay, then you come to Arati, we chant a mantra tonight, and you make a walk in the forest, and tomorrow morning I come, and then we decide if you stay in the light and we just talk once a day, or you go back in the darkness. The next day I came in, and the light was dark again, and she said, thank you, I realized, oh my gosh, my ego trying to, and how tricky that is, and I learned so much. So this is what you said, the ego is very smart working with the mind, and so that's a big gift. I mean, that's a big grace if you can break that through, because what is behind it is not as bad as if we have a big ego. It's always a hurt. It's a not seen. There's a fear of not being seen, be hurted again. I think that many times we are all like small children, and this hurts of our, baby to 5-year-old, we didn't get enough love, recognition is played out by these things,
That's exactly it. So, and I can show you illustratively what it is. That one I showed you, maybe? The one about the birthday?
Oh, yes.
So the ego being its, really sort of fantastic self. So as a child, I never really had a birthday. And that hurts, because, as a child, you're thinking, he's having a birthday, surprise birthday party. So he has a surprise birthday, he had and then you never, so you always think, they're going to do the surprise birthday party this week. So it never happened in my life experience. But I think I was 23, and my mother gave me a call and she said, Darren, your father's crying. And I said, why? And she said, because he forgot your birthday, and it was that day. So I cried as well in that moment. And then, do you know what? I took a lesson from that, and I said, hold on a second. There's a reason why I shouldn't, place so much importance on birthdays. So what I did was create this idea, or actually submit to the idea, or surrender to the idea that actually every day is important, truly every day. And to this day, I will say that for everyone, every day is truly important. But for me, behind the every day is truly important, I said to myself that if nobody celebrated my birthday per se, I wouldn't be upset about it, because every day is important. That in itself is a construct. It's a construct for the ego, because then the ego looks at that as a protection mechanism from you. So do you see what I mean? And that's the way the ego can work. And it's the details that matter. Don't ignore the details. It could be really simple.
And to find a person you can trust, like a soul friend, and sometimes share. And as you said, it's not how much friends we have, is a quality. And I think that is very important to protect that space.
Yes,
to also be careful to whom to share that with, because that is really working on the ego. Is a very very sensitive thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward. To meet you again.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a pleasure, because not everybody's so open. I always love to work with open people. It's a joy. And that's really nice.
It's been an incredible experience. I said to you earlier that if I think the last ninth night, I think you came in and I was talking to you about my astral experiences and working on it, and we were talking about when I was going to come back into the light, and I'd picked the morning because I wanted to see the sunrise. But I was also thinking at the time, do you know what? Maybe it's a little bit time now to come out, speak to my wife, see my children. And then you said to me that actually the beauty from the terrace of the sunset is amazing. And you need to see an energy from that. So would you consider? It wasn't I think it's better. Would you consider to come out in the sunset? And that alone gave me so much energy to stay again. And then you can get in when you're here between the smoothies, you almost count what much time, and sometimes it's just an automatic process that you do. So is it morning, is it afternoon, is it evening? So I count how many smoothies next. So but I was like, the moment you said could you do the sunset, I didn't need to know how many smoothies left. I was going to be focused completely on
your astral.
On astral.
So good.
So good. And you know about the astral experience, which was
very, very amazing.
Incredible. The astral experience, you were talking earlier about the people saying that after death there's nothing, and that's heartbreaking for me to hear that after death there's nothing. I say after death, I mean the death in the physical plane, it's immediate life.
Of course.
Immediate life.
Of course.
And in my astral experience, I've experienced what the death process can be like. So my mother passed away with cancer, and what if you pay attention, so I was at her bedside just before she passed, and she was I think there was only a few minutes left, and there's a process that the soul and the body go through to detach itself. So my mother
and so the five elements have to detach.
Detach. So my mother's constantly getting up and pulling for the end of the bed, and I'm like, what's she doing?
That's the earth element.
So she's disconnecting, but because she's getting a pull from the other side, she doesn't know how to leave and detach the body.
And so many times, there's a beautiful book about a woman. Her name is Dorothea. I forgot her. I will put that on the YouTube when I put it on the YouTube. It's about this. I only know in German these sieben guten Wege des Sterbens, so the 7 good ways of death. And she worked in a palliative, and she was connected to Buddhist monks. And so it's the same like in the Indian tradition. You disconnecting the 5 elements, and earth element is the first. That's why many people, when they die, even a week before, they get very nervous. They want to move, they want to walk. And if you put them down with sleeping pills, you don't help them in the process. And same if you get birth. I mean, I birthed 2 kids. Same with both of them before the birth happened. Every woman knows that who gets birth. They start to clean everything. They get the earth element is wrong. Then the fire element. Then they get very hot. You also have that in birth process. Same you have in birth and death. So it's both as a gateway to that other dimension. And as a woman, if you give birth, you cross that dimension even in your bodies. It's amazing if you understand what's happening. Wow, and you get a soul from that consciousness. And if you die, it's a same beautiful thing. It's not scary. It's just the way how we do it. It's scary.
And that's the thing, is how we do it. So in this last experience, so through the astral projection experience, you get to a point where the body is starting to do that process.
And then
I would liken it to the death process. And that's why don't be afraid of death, because when you have that particular experience, learning to astral project, then you can accept death.
Yes, you can
accept it as part of a process, and you know that the life doesn't end.
No, it doesn't end.
You know it doesn't end.
It's just nobody can take it from you.
And then it makes it so beautiful and exciting, and then you want to experience the astral world in a completely different way.
Yes.
Completely different way. So
Wow! Congratulations! That is so amazing. Wow. Okay, and nobody can take that from you.
No.
There will be people who don't believe you, and there will be people, like, what? You're crazy. But you know. And that is so beautiful, you keep that in your heart.
Yes.
That is so beautiful.
And they only say that until they have the experience themselves.
Of course.
And the only thing I can say is, it's up to you. You can choose. It's totally free. Totally free.
Right. Thank you so much,
Thank
Darren.
you.
Wow. And I'm looking forward to meeting your wife.
And my family, so I'm going to bring my family down, get a little apartment.
And our kids can play together.
That
is so nice.
Yeah, can't wait.
Wow, I can't wait too. Okay guys. See you. Take care.
See you.
Bye.